new season of The Punisher. And I'll do my best to avoid spoilers for both first and second season, because I know that some of you haven't watched either. And I'm the first season is totally worth watching. It has I have my problems with it, but that's because I grew up on the source material. Well, I'll get into that in a minute. Where's the Discord Facebook link? You're in Discord. What are you asking me for? Oh, probably for somebody else. I got mad, and then I'm like, probably for somebody else, dick.
I'm about to post the link on the Facebook page too.
Oh yeah, good job.
Mm-hmm.
All I did was say showtime in 10 minutes.
Yeah, the link would always help if you did that.
I suppose. I need to swap devices. What?
All right, it's 8 o'clock. Are you ready or no?
Yeah, let's do it. You ready? All right.
All right, I'm recording.
Awesome. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Welcome to another episode of the House of Auger Show. I'm your host, the man of the house, JT Auger, and with me tonight are my co-hosts Joel and Nicole. And Mac is with us. We're missing a couple. We've lost a couple. Amanda is busy on her street corner. Her pimp said that she cannot show up tonight. She's busy. If you know what I mean. And I guess Adam, our resident lawyer, is not going to be available tonight either. He also is on the same corner, surprisingly. Very busy as well. So, you know, we've all got many hats that we put on. This is not a family-friendly show. We talk about a lot of offensive stuff because it's fun and we're adults and we can. We also eat cookies for dinner. So fuck you. And if the way this show works, typically if we don't have a guest, we have an open panel roundtable discussion about multiple events. So this is, for those of you who are tuned in, if you have anything you'd like to say about a topic that we're discussing, or if you have a topic that you would like to bring up, if we feel generous enough and we don't think it sucks, then maybe we'll talk about it. Let us know in the comments and we will unmute you and you can join the conversation. I suppose we should get started before I stutter too fucking much. Jesus Christ, what's my problem? I want to talk about The Punisher. A new season has been released over the last, I think, just a few days ago. The first season, now I don't know if I'll try and avoid spoilers as best I can. If any of you have seen the first season, or if you have watched the second season or are watching the second season, let me know in the comments if you'd like to be unmuted. I'd love to have somebody to chat to that knows what the hell I'm talking about. Cameron Scott, I think, has.
Yeah, I think he has.
So if you're a fan of the comics, let me know. Join in. I grew up on this stuff, on the source material. So I'm a bit critical when it comes to this stuff. The first season did not meet my standards, but it was good enough. I tend to be forgiving. I felt that it had a lot of decent stuff about it. I thought the attempt was a damn sight better than I expected. Now, this new season, I'm really I'm just disappointed in it. In a lot of ways. There's some good things. There are. It starts off really well. Actually, let me take that back. It starts off disappointing and really well. It's disappointing because of the character development. I'm big on character development. I'm big on getting the character right. And I feel like with a character like the Punisher, Frank Castle, you have to get that character right. So they start off with Frank. The first season, he goes through this whole rigmarole, and they go through the backstory. For those of you who don't know the backstory, he's an ex-military, I think he might have been FBI. I can't remember. It gets fuzzy because they switched the story a bit here and there from comic to movie and blah blah blah, so it gets blurry. But I know at least he's ex-military, Marine recon, I believe. He's very skilled, and he was law enforcement at the end there, and then his family gets murdered. Now, who's responsible for his family's? What's that? he I really hate that Native American, but that's another topic for another time. We'll get to that in a little bit. But no, here's so who exactly is responsible for his family's death over time? But there's an antagonist who they pin it on in the first season, and they kind of wrap it up at the end.
Hey, Josh, I unmuted Cameron, so y'all can actually talk about this. You have someone who knows.
Cameron, you're welcome to welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. And if you have anything to add to what I'm saying, or if you have any rebuttals or additions, let me know. Can you hear me? Are you there? Okay, good talk.
I don't know.
If you get your shit figured out, Cameron, let me know. And if nothing else, then you can always just type it out in the comments. But
yeah, his mic is picking up noise, but not him talking. I don't know.
Yeah, can you hear the road noise? Yeah, there you are.
There you are, Cameron.
Oh yeah, I'm driving through back country sort of. So.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. What was that?
Did you say Bat Country? Like the beginning, like the beginning of Fear and Loathing?
No, like a back country. Like I'm going through like a mountainous area.
That's what I call my Mrs. Backside. No, I'm just kidding. So, have you seen the new season then? What I'm talking about, Punisher?
Yeah, I saw the first 3 episodes, really loved them. And then after that point, I kind of got less interested. And then about episode 6 or 7, I actually kind of fell asleep. And I was like, oh, I should probably get back to this series when I'm like a little bit more interested. So I've seen like the first 7 episodes, and I'm just like, maybe I'll come back.
Yeah, I'm on episode 9. I haven't finished it. I'm hoping that they finish strong. It's always good to start and finish strong. My frustration with the beginning of the series, or this second season, I should say, is that they try and put Frank Castle in a situation where he's trying to be normal. Now, that to me tells me that the writers and the actors themselves are not familiar with the source material. Frank Castle, look, people lose their families and get angry and lash out all the time, right? Like, people die all the time. People lose their families all the time. Why did this guy warrant a story that people paid attention to? And that's the question that seems to not have been asked when they sat down to write this season. Because what sets Frank Castle apart is that he snaps. Here's a man who's skilled, who has a lifetime of experience in reconnaissance, in killing, in he's military trained, he's highly skilled, and he has snapped. This he may not have been the first anti-hero, but he's definitely one of the first widely recognized anti-heroes. There is no normal for Frank Castle. This is a man who everything about him hinges on how, I'm trying to word this properly. It's the ultimate escapism, right? Like, he can't handle normal. He's constantly on the move because the moment he stops, he has to deal with what he's lost. And there's nothing to do about it. So,
yeah.
And it's all about guilt and blame, right? The law enforcement didn't come in and wasn't capable of stopping what happened to his family. So he hates law enforcement. Not enough to kill them, obviously, but enough that he doesn't care about their rules anymore. You guys don't get the job done. All your rules hindered you and kept you from being able to protect my family. He hates criminals because they're the ones responsible for what happened to his family. He hates everyone. He hates normal people because they have what he lost. And he hates himself because he didn't stop it either. And everything he does is a death wish. All he wants is to revisit his family, but he can't do that because they're gone. So his only chance is to die. So everything he does is to push himself to that extent where maybe something happens and boom, he's dead. He doesn't have to deal with this anymore. But damn it, while he's here, he's going to push everything he can into, I don't want to. I'm not always that eloquent. It's a lot like Batman. What makes Batman great is the struggle of him and the loss of his parents. Castle, he went that extra step. This is a man, right? You can't have normal. So every time in this season, when they try and show him like, well, I guess I'll try and move on. No, that's everyone else that isn't Frank Castle. Everyone else moves on. Frank can't. He simply can't. He has snapped beyond the ability to do so. And that just doesn't come across in the writing. And it just feels like they didn't pay attention to who the character was. They didn't pay attention to the source material. And I feel like there's times where even the action, there's an action sequence, a physical one in a bar near the beginning of the season, and it's really well done. It's probably some of the best work throughout the season so far that I've seen. And that's another thing, is that this is not a lot of the writing. Like Cameron talks about how in the middle and for a good while after, it slows down, and it's because there's a lot of character discussion, where it's about characters trying to find themselves. Geez, who am I? And oh, what have I been through? And oh, what have you been through? And it's not what this is about. It's just not like, go do that in anything, literally any fucking thing else. This is about somebody who is so broken and so full of rage that there's just, it should be uncomfortable to those who are broken and full of rage. Like, it's to that extent, to where it's like, it's action and gore to the extreme, to the point where guys who are like, yeah, I like action movies should watch this and go, I think you guys are going a little too far. That's uncomfortable. Like, and that's what this should be. And there was just a hint of that in that bar fight scene that I'm talking about, where it was like that they managed to capture Castle for just a moment, and that was nice. But it's like they lose it for the rest of the fucking season, and it's just very frustrating for somebody who likes the material. Ken, what do you think?
Josh, would you say that? Well, for at least for me, I feel like John Bernthal was more like the Punisher when he was in Daredevil than in his actual show. Like his appearance.
Yes.
Yeah. That whole time he's in Daredevil, he's playing to that character that you're talking about. This guy that is just a black and white character. There is either he's always on. He's always trying to fulfill a certain mission, and it's just fueled by a rage that can't be quenched. And then it's in season 1 and 2. We really just don't get that. I mean, there's violence, sure, but it's not the same character.
Well, even the violence I felt wasn't done that well either. He comes across as he doesn't come across trained, in my opinion, and maybe that's just a visual thing. I'm not sure, but there's just when he's about his work, right, and he's going to town, he just comes across as a truck driver who got mad and fucking had access to, some guns. Like it doesn't feel like I'm watching a professional, and that's frustrating. And then there's this whole soap opera that happens where he's like crying to a girl and a girl's crying to him, and then there's the antagonist and this excessive amount of time that goes into him crying about what he can't remember and crying about his own personal issues. It's as though they're trying to make us empathize or even sympathize with the antagonist, which I don't understand why. That seems like such a waste of time. What are you doing? Like, what, have you? It's like they don't know how to write a story.
Yeah. I think, there's a lot of reasons to that, but I think there are two things that I can think of off the top of my head that add to why his character is so derailed. Season 1 should have been all about the mob. It should have been, we should have gotten classic Frank Castle. It should have been about, instead of about, the military being bad and like, your own people betrayed you, which again is not something that you would find in a Punisher comic book. It's very, it's very much pro-military or whatever. So there's that point. Bring it back to the mob. Bring it back, to Frank Castle's military training. And then secondly, he would never partner up with an FBI, CIA agent. Get rid of Madani. Her character is completely. They try to give her, a use. But her character just shouldn't exist. Like Frank Castle would never do that.
No. And that's the thing is there should come across. I think the closest I saw him, the writing. There's a moment where he walks through a trailer door and this girl that he's protecting, he taught her some, a couple of moves, to disarm somebody who has a gun earlier on. And she tries to, she's bored or whatever. And he comes through the door and she decides to distract him and then try and take his gun away. And he's heated in the moment. She doesn't know he just got done being, active. So he's frustrated and he doesn't let her get away with what she does and kind of knocks her down and then reprimands her. And for her, it's scary. And there's that moment, I feel like, okay, that's Frank Castle. That's the best you can hope for when interacting with innocent people is him going, "You're stupid. You're going to get yourself killed. You're going to get me killed. Knock it off. Like, do what I fucking say or you're going to fucking die. And if you do, that's tough shit. Fuck you. Like, I have things to do. I'm not your fucking babysitter." Like, maybe not angry and saying all that, but there should be that air of like, you're a useless piece of shit. And I hate you because you remind me of a world I no longer belong to. And that, and there should be a sense of like a bottled explosion, right? Not just, and I don't mean just like dynamite. I mean dynamite that went off and is in a constant state of flux inside of a container. That's Frank Castle. It should always feel like, Jesus Christ, is an explosion going to go off? But it never really does. That should be the sense of things. And it just, I'm just really, maybe I'm too hard on the writers and on the show at large, but there's a reason why this guy's story stands out and they're not doing any of the things that go along with why this guy's story stands out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, there's a reason why, I don't know if you know this, but the comic book industry is, they're constantly, every year, they're seeing these. Meanwhile, you have the movies are doing great. The Marvel movies are making billions of dollars. Even the DC movies are doing pretty good. Right. But the comic books themselves are like the Netflix shows almost. Like they are trying too hard to either be woke or to try to character to be like, they're trying to insert themselves into the Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just saying they're just trying too hard to stray from the traditional views of the characters. Like right now, Batman being written by Tom King is not Batman. He's a cuck. Like that's not even like just me, roasting it. Like he literally let Catwoman fight the Joker for him in one of the recent, issues last year. It's like Batman would never do that.
He's like uber control freak. Like that's not, hey, let me take care of this. Yeah, go ahead. That's cool. That's probably a good idea. Like that's not what. that's something you'll never hear him say. Like, oh, of course you should be in charge. Yeah, I'll let you be in charge. Let me let's let you take over for a while. Certainly. Like no.
Yeah. Exactly. So, a lot of the comic book writers, a lot of the writers in Hollywood, they use these characters as like, what can I'm taking something that's popular. What can I do to like make this like more about me, about, like for Tom King and Batman, it's clear he has psychological issues that he's trying to work out and he injects it into Batman. So whoever is writing the show for Punisher, they are injecting like themselves into Frank Castle to try to make him in their own minds more relatable. But we shouldn't really relate to Frank Castle. That's part of the draw to him is like he stands on his own. Like he's somebody you kind of look up to and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I was that badass. But at the same time, it's like,
that's the thing. That's your initial response. It should change once you learn why he's as badass as he is, and the price and cost of that.
Yeah.
And how like, oh, he like, never mind. I don't think I can do that. Like, it should be the standard response when finding out, when really exploring who Frank Castle is and what he's really all about. I love the character. I love anti-heroes, and I think that's probably just a male thing. Like we love the guys that are troubled to the point to the idea that you're broken to the point of your superhero, your superpower is I'm fucking broken. And so now I just I kill people and that I do that. Yeah, but like, why? Because I'm broken and it's what I do. I can't get a good job. Like now I'm just being ridiculous. But no, it's just that's why the characters that over the years have kind of stood out among the comics. Nobody dislikes Superman, but I think the fandom loves Batman as opposed to Superman. Everybody likes the X-Men, but Wolverine stands out. Because it's that same thing. He's a bit of an anti-hero. He's these guys have their rules, but I'm going to cut your fucking head off. You know what I mean? Frank Castle's in that same category. And I don't know. I've always been a stickler for character development. Like, if you're going to portray someone who is beloved and there's years worth of material, like go read the source material, go find out what made him popular, go find out what brought him to the foreground, what put him in the public eye. Because there's plenty of comics that people wrote and they fell flat and nobody knows them and fucking nobody ever will. And that's not what this was. So what made Frank Castle stand out? What made everybody love him and use that? And they just didn't. And that's my opinion. I mean, I want to love it because it's the Punisher. Hell, the best, in my opinion, the best rendition on screen of the Punisher to date is still Thomas Jane's.
Did you ever see Punisher Warzone?
Yeah, with the Polo.
Ray Stevenson.
What's that?
Ray Stevenson.
Yeah. I liked it. I felt like he didn't capture Frank's inner rage or turmoil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He again, somebody who really fell flat. Like, you have to. I feel like in order to really kind of capture, like the actor should do something like put a fucking razor blade in his toe and just leave it there. Put his shoes on and then like walk around, and he should just have this constant nagging pain and like just to the point where it's not debilitating, but it's just always there and you can't get rid of it, and it's just like that should always be there, and it just isn't. Like, you can't be Frank Castle and making jokes and doing winky face and what the fuck? That's not Punisher at all. Like, he scares the actual superheroes. You know what I mean? Like fucking Tony Stark and Daredevil and Spider-Man, these are all guys, they're all in the same city, and they fucking don't like Frank Castle. They avoid him and sometimes come after him because it's like, we can't tell when he's actually the good guy or the bad guy. Like, he's just, and he's just a guy. And that should come across, and it just doesn't. But now I'm going over the same point over and over again. So that's just, that's my take on the season. I didn't really sell it. I don't imagine anybody's coming away from this going, yeah, I'll watch that. Like, the first season was okay. Like, that's watchable. But yeah, I'm really disappointed with this season. I hope I didn't give away any spoilers, but if anybody else has anything they'd like to add or say to that, please go ahead and do. If not, then we'll go ahead and move on.
Oh, I was just going to say, no worries. I mean, it's gonna be canceled anyway because Netflix is getting rid of all the Marvel shows, unfortunately.
What's that about? Is it just that they're not doing well?
No, well, for Iron Fist and Luke Cage, the ratings were low for those. Daredevil season 3 was like the highest rated season for Daredevil. It was actually a very popular season. But there are rumors that that since Disney now owns those characters, that they might take those characters and put them into film, or Disney has its own streaming service, but it's not likely that they're going to bring those shows over because the streaming service is very family oriented. They're going to be focusing on like Marvel animated shows and Star Wars shows. So they're not going to have like, PG-13 R-rated Marvel comic book shows. So,
well, I mean, in a way that's good, and in a way it's bad because it's nice to see them. It's nice to see these characters attempted.
Yeah.
But they really did. They've earned the cancellations they've received because, like, Luke Cage, he was a cool character in the comics, man. For a small bit hero, a B or C rated hero, as it were. He was kind of a cool character, but all they did was write a fucking like a soap opera. That's what most of these turned out to be, and it's like, you're not. Are you writing these for women? I feel like that's what you're trying to do, and that's not going to work. You're going to lose the men. Like there's been all of in this second season. I'm on episode 9 of The Punisher, and I swear to God, there's been 2 major action scenes. 2 for a guy that's what he does. That's it. Maybe that's the problem. I just don't. I don't. If I took a razor to this face, maybe I'd be like, oh, you know what? I need to be a little more sensitive and maybe listen to these characters and what they have to say. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe I just don't Gillette enough.
The House of Auger show brought to you by Harry's.com.
Goldfeather says, and I don't know who you are, Goldfeather, but that's kudos to you. That's a good point. Superhero shows inevitably have drama injected to round out the viewer base. And that's stupid. I mean, personally, that's how I feel about that. Like, you stop trying to round out the viewer base. You're not going to please everyone. So you might as well please the people who fucking tuned in the first place because they liked, the source material. Luke Cage there shouldn't be an episode where he doesn't fucking wreck a building and smash a dude's face. Like, that should be happening every fucking episode. There should be a massacre in almost every episode of The Punisher. And it's just not happening that way. And it's like, what do you think do you think I tuned in so that I could listen to the bad guy fucking cry to his fucking, weird ass fucking girlfriend or whatever she is about like his problems? What? Who's writing this? What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? So, yes,
I have a friend who calls characters like Luke Cage, not Luke Cage from the comic books, but Luke Cage from the TV show. He calls them Gordon Good Brothers, and that's where you take a black character that's supposed to be strong and powerful, like Blade or Luke Cage, and then you just make him like these gentle giants. And it's like, Luke Cage is not a gentle giant. He's not like, well, hey, howdy, neighbor. I just wanted to let you know. It's like, no, that's not Luke Cage. So,
right. On the other hand, TC Boggs, anyone ready for the new Watchmen series? I so fucking am. I so am. I want one of these goddamn series to work. Like, don't get me wrong, I liked Daredevil, and Daredevil, out of all of them, obviously was the better written, and it had more action. I kind of thought it was weird how every season it seemed like they'd start him out with his outfit and then take it away from him, and then he only got it back like the second couple episodes. And it was like, can we have a whole season of him wearing his fucking outfit? He's called Daredevil. Why is he running around with just a cloth on his head? Like, it's just weird things like that. I was like, what are we doing?
They're trying to be sensitive to the hijab audience. They're like, hey, we know a lot of folks, ladies out there, you're wearing the hijab, so we're going to have him wearing the hijab, but not the lower part, just the top part.
I don't know what that was about, but so yeah, I'm really hoping that Watchmen does not follow suit with all these other superhero shows that have failed to meet the mark. Supposed to be carrying the story further after the plot of the movie. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I thought they were just going to drag out the same story. That's kind of cool. I like that. We talked a lot. I've talked a lot, which is what I do. I've talked a lot about character development and the lack thereof. The flip side of that coin, there's the new True Detective. I mentioned that last time. I'm on episode 4 now, and wow, what a show! It's my opinion that they learned their lesson from the last season. Last time I spoke about it, I was saying I was worried. I really hoped that they did it justice, and it seemed like they were. We're 4 episodes in now. The character development is amazing. I'm loving the protagonist. I'm loving the story. There's twists that are really interesting, and it's keeping my attention. I think it's a really well-written show, and I'm really happy with it. I don't know if anybody else is watching it, but if you have any thoughts on it, let me know. I'll be happy to unmute you. Cameron, are you watching it?
No, I only had HBO for a really short time, and that was about a year or so ago. So I never really got around. I saw the first episode of season 1 and I liked it, and then I just forgot about it, and then I never. It's one of those things I do want to revisit. But what made season 2 not work? Would you say? So.
We talked about this last episode, or last Tuesday, but I'll revisit this. It's worth it to. I think it bears repeating. So, in my opinion, season 1 set the bar really high. The storyline, the mystery was phenomenal. It brought elements of kind of mystique or mysticism into it. Whether you believed it or not, like it didn't go into it like there was black magic, but at least there were people who believed in sort of occult things that were involved in rather unpleasant, nefarious criminal activities, and people were dying. It was set, the camera work, the set design, the mood was an ambiance, the feel, the character development, the actors. I can't think of anything that was lacking. Like, I can't think of anything that could have been done better. It was just so well done from start to finish. And I mean, I've revisited it. Very rarely do I find a season that I come back to and I watch again, and it's still worthwhile. You know what I mean? Like, it loses its most series loses its je ne sais quoi. I don't know. It loses its rewatchability after you watch it. It's just like, okay, I've seen it. I don't. You start it over, and you feel like, well, I already know what's going to happen. And most of the time, most series that does it and you're just like, well, I'm done. I'm not interested. This is one of those few series where you can go back and watch it again, and there's things you may have missed, and there are things that are coming, but you're like, yeah, I can't wait to see that again. Like, it's a great series. It was a great season, and season 2 was good, but it didn't hit the same level of power and intensity. It kind of had you reversed those 2 seasons, I think if you made season 2 season 1, it would have been good, and probably nobody would have had a problem with it. But you can't go high intensity and then come down to a simmer, and everybody's just going to be like, yeah, like just, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
it wasn't a bad season. It just didn't have the same intensity. It didn't have the same draw, the same awe to it, in my opinion.
That kind of reminds me a little bit of. Did you ever watch Dexter, the serial killer that worked for the Miami homicide?
What? Oh yeah, yes, Dexter. I loved Dexter.
Yeah, I loved it, but there came a point, and I think it was the last season, where his character just literally stopped, moving forward. His story, and so the last season was really such a chore, and it was so unfortunate because, I'm one of the few, because some people say after season 4 is when it got bad, but I think it was good up until the second to last season. There was, there were these really great, jarring and chilling moments, and then it's just right. It's like go ahead.
I'm in agreement with you to a certain degree that it suffered from that constant the same format, the same formula. Some random mysterious serial killer came to town, and Dexter had to figure out who it was, and had to, because now everybody's looking for a serial killer. Like, he's sort of got to be a little more cautious, and people are starting to look, they're starting to pick up his trail, thinking it's the other guy's trail, and now he's got to kill that guy to hide his own trail. Like, and that happened over and over and over again. And there were, you can only do that for so long before, people tune out, and they're like, all right, it's the same shit. It becomes predictable. I think there was an ebb and flow with that show. There's a term for, oh God, what is that term? For when you invest so much time that you just keep watching because you're like, I can't, if I stop now, like, then all of that time I've already put into it is worth nothing. I was one of those people. And so there were seasons, and it's been so long since I've seen the show. I can't remember, but I remember that there were seasons that were really good, and then there were seasons that were not so good. And then you would have this kind of ebb and flow where it would be like, okay, so the show kind of sucks right now. Oh, look, a better season. All right, cool. We're back on top. And then it would kind of drop down again, and you'd be like, oh, okay, another sucky season. That was how I remember it, at least.
No, I think that's a really good description. And it's just, I think they didn't know what to do with his character. Like, as you were saying, like, each season eventually became like, oh, we're going to have a mysterious killer, and that's the plot of the season, where, as made the seasons that were good so strong was that they challenged who Dexter was, and he had to redefine himself. Like, in season 1,
yes.
Yeah.
What's funny is I feel like the mistakes that were made with Dexter were learned by the people who were involved with Breaking Bad, because Breaking Bad very clearly did not make the same mistakes. Like, they tied it up, they wrapped it up, they what's that term? They tied up loose ends, and they killed off the fucking protagonist. And that's really what they should have done with Dexter probably 2 or 3 seasons prior.
Well, yeah, there's a book series that Dexter originated from, and yes. And there are a couple of books. Yeah, and there are a couple of books that fall outside of what was covered in the TV series, and in those books they lead to something like that. In the books he eventually gets caught, and he has to like try to get undo his own name, and then I forgot how he does it, but he actually goes to trial and everything, and he convinces everybody oh no, I'm not really actually a killer, so he gets freed, but somehow in pursuit of another killer he winds up dead or whatever. So that what I'm saying is the author obviously learned from how bad the show ended. He's like, I'm going to go a completely different route. So,
well, what's funny is that the books were different to start with. In the books, for those who remember the series, the show, he would often refer to himself in a duality sense, where he had his dark side, his darker, dark passenger. And if I remember correctly, the first Dexter book, the first or second one, is called Dexter Dark Passenger. In the books, there's literally a demon that he's possessed by that's causing him to do the things he does. The books are a little bit weirder. Like whoever did the series read those books and went, yeah, we're probably gonna not do that. We're just gonna stick with the guy who kills bad people. Like, we're gonna leave out the demon stuff, which was probably a good idea. I think it's a funny and interesting difference between the books and the show. I didn't expect us to talk this long about shows. That's probably my fault. So if anybody else has anything to say about these shows or another show, please let me know. Otherwise, we're going to move on. Alrighty then. So me neither. Move on.
All right, Josh. I think it's time for my love poem to Nicole.
I was just going to say that. So for those of you who don't know, Joel apparently cannot sing. And Nicole has expressed a deep and unabiding sadness about the fact that he has not written her a love song. And so Larry, Sausage Pot Noodle, has decided, is he with us tonight? Is he here?
Yeah, he's here.
Yes, he's here.
Okay, so maybe we can unmute him, because I think he wants to be a part of this, doesn't he?
I'm the one who's going to be reading it.
Oh, so okay. I'll leave it to you. Yeah. But apparently Larry has he made a promise to get together with you, Joel, and help you write a love poem. Is that correct?
That's correct. We worked on it while I was at the gym, and he was back from the dentist actually this afternoon.
All right. I'm gonna step back and let you take over, man. This is your show now.
All right, sounds good. One thing I will say is the phrase ginger beer means homosexual. By the way, it's Cockney rhyming slang. So ginger beer, queer. That's what that would mean.
Okay.
It's Roy's ginger beer.
Oh, there he is. Okay, so here we go. Can everybody hear me okay, by the way?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, that was Cameron that used that voice.
Oh, that was Cameron. I was like, wait a minute, that sounds really weird for Paul. All right. I met my woman in a rehab gown. Her eyes were blurry with an opioid frown. I thought I might attack her in the classic rapist style I developed over time. But no, let's do something different. I will chat her into bed using words instead of violent crime. But 1 year later, my failure was clear. I discovered she thought I was just a friendly old ginger beer. Another year passed, and I hadn't made any ground. Her packy-hating boyfriend was still hanging around. People laughed and pointed as I wandered through town. "He's too scared," the children shouted from the school playground. 4 years passed, and Nicole could wait no more. So she told me she loved me and begged me to take her on the floor. My penis disappeared inside, and I quaked in fear. So I thanked her politely and ran away like a queer. My confidence now shattered and my manhood destroyed. I switched off Brokeback Mountain and invited her over to mine, and I promised her the greatest massage of all time. I dropped a pack of Viagra so my penis couldn't hide, and laid her on the carpet with bad intentions in mind. I put my plan in action and destroyed her from behind, and she never started snoring, which was a very good sign. At that point, I knew she was the only woman for me, so I'm reading this love poem, humiliating myself for her publicly, on a podcast for weirdos on Ludes Tuesday. Water sports and gimp masks are scheduled for Thursday, and cross-dressing roleplay every Friday. I'm a cattle-driving pervert that's as happy as can be, that gets buggered with a strap-on every other Wednesday. The end.
Oh my god! Oh my god! All right. Who fucking wrote that? Did you write that, Joel, or was that fucking all Larry?
No, that was pretty much all Larry.
Holy shit!
I what do you call it? Edited a few things so that it would sound a little more natural for me, but mostly all him.
It's so accurate, actually.
Oh my god!
Was the night before buggering. I'll copy it and post it in the chat. Actually,
I had no idea that it was going to be that amazing. I thought this would be a fun little thing that we'll do. I had no idea it was going to be that fucking good.
I told Paul. I had Paul ask me questions. He said, "Give me some details about your lives and stuff like that." So I told him a bunch of stuff, including the Packy hating boyfriend and everything like that, and him claiming that I was gay, and so she thought I was gay. So yeah, I gave him the info, and then he went to work on it.
That was brilliant.
It's actually like our love story in poem form.
That's like. I just got a comment. That sounded like if Jim Norton wrote the lyrics for a Johnny Cash song.
No, that's too funny.
Oh my god, that was great.
What? Who is Missy Money again?
That's Nicole Cannon.
Oh, okay. Horseface. I'm gonna fucking Horse Dick Girl. I need to give her a nickname.
Horse Dick Girl, really?
That's how I'll remember.
Oh my god, poor Nicole.
That's how I remember her. That's how I'll be able to differentiate her from the other from you, Nicole. Wait, why is there something out there now?
I just added the text into chat for anybody who's truly interested.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that was amazing.
I'm Cow Dick. She's Cow Dick Girl. Yeah, that's right. You are.
I am. I'm Cow Dick Girl.
Right, and she's Horse Dick Girl.
Horse Dick Girl. That
okay. Well, thank you, Paul. That was fantastically fun. I enjoyed it.
Right? Oh man, I'm saving that. I love it.
For real?
Yeah.
God, that was good. We need to clip just you reading that. Although, you know what? I would love it if you would record yourself doing it where there's nothing else but just you.
Yeah, none of the laughter.
Yeah, no interruptions.
Actually,
just you.
Shit. If I hadn't have stopped, because I'm on a separate track actually from the rest of you. So, but now because I can just read it again.
Yeah. And then I'll post that. We'll get Mac to put that on YouTube as just the clip alone, because I think it's fucking totally worth that. And then we'll post it on the page as well.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about MAGA Hat Kid. And Joel, this is another thing I think that you wanted to talk about because you were infuriated.
He was fired the fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking
really? He was.
Well, I totally was.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and tell us about MAGA Hat Kid?
All right. So I'm assuming everybody probably already knows about this, but of course, in case you don't, the short rundown is a group of Catholic school teenagers were in front of the Lincoln Memorial, I believe. They were waiting for their bus, and the mainstream.
That's where they gathered. That was their meeting place.
Right. So what the mainstream media reported, I don't remember which day it was, if it was Friday or Saturday. I guess maybe it was Saturday or something. What they reported
Friday,
on happened Friday. Okay, so it was either reported Friday or Saturday. So they get a hold of a still photo and short video of this one kid, especially and he has a Native American guy right in his face, and he is banging his little drum right in the kid's face. And the kid, eventually, the still photo, of course, shows the kid with a smirk on his face or a smile on his face because we later find out thinking, what the fuck is going on? But the narrative is that these kids go and accost this Native American dude and make fun of him, and he was getting just shit on by literally every side of the mainstream media, from left to right to center. They were all running stories. I don't remember what day I read it, but I read it in the morning, and even Fox News had their story was attacking this kid and those kids and saying that they were in the wrong and they were bad guys. And then I guess 24 hours later, it turns out it's all utter horseshit. The entire narrative is complete crap. And this comes on the heels of earlier in the week, the media being fucked in the ass when they all ran with BuzzFeed's story on Cohen having been directed to lie to Congress directly by Trump, which the Mueller team actually came out and said, yeah, actually that did not happen. So this story is complete shit. And if that's coming from the Mueller team, holy shit, then you know that they're not fucking around with that. So they've already been fucked in the ass once on a bad story, and now they just fucked themselves again. And the long video, which is an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that, shows these kids mostly sitting there because I guess they'd been done with their march for a long time. So they were sitting there and they were doing a lot of their school chants because they were bored and they're teenagers and, they were trying to pass the time. And at the same time, they are being heckled and yelled at by this group of black Israelites, which are apparently black racists. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just real quick? They hadn't begun to do the everybody talks about the kids when they start singing and chanting, and like it's some negative thing that they were doing. And the black Israelites were cursing and hurling racial slurs and calling them faggots and shit like that. And the kids had a chaperone there with them, and they asked the chaperone if they could begin to do school like sports chants or whatever, fight, go team, whatever, in order to drown out the negativity that these black Israelites were spewing at them. So that's why you hear them doing that.
Okay.
One quick note to Josh's point, to give you an idea about the black Israelites, they are considered a hate group even by the far left Southern Poverty Law Center. So
no shit. Oh wow.
Yeah. They're like, oh, this is a hate group.
Colin Quinn, a comedian, when he talks about the black Israelites, he's got a joke about them, and then he says it's the longest running Broadway show ever, because a lot of what they that's where you most of the time see them is standing on street corners near Broadway in New York. So that's what they do. What you hear them doing, that's what they do. They stand on a street corner. It's usually like 6 or 7 of them. The first time I had ever experienced or seen anything about them was, like 7 years ago. And I was just shocked. I was appalled. It's a bunch of black guys saying that we're true Israelites and that the fair-skinned Jews are fake and whites are the devil, and and we're all, we all deserve to die. And they have they are the most hateful, racist group of people I've ever seen. And they will just spew that hatred at anybody who walks by. They have a name. I forget what they call Asians, like Canaanites or something.
Oh, and here comes Gad. Here comes Gad.
Yeah. And they hate everything and everyone. And it's insane. So I was not surprised when I first saw the video and saw that they were saying the things they were saying. I was like, oh, it's Black Israelites. Of course they're going to say that shit. But go ahead, Joel. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take your... Go ahead.
No, that's cool. That's info I didn't have. So yeah, as Josh was saying.
I'm sorry. Sarbana, I don't know if I've got it right. They use something like Edomites or I'm not sure that I'm right with Canaanites, but they call Asians a certain tribe of some sort. And then say that they're shit and they're gonna die too, and it's crazy. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Jack says, or Bram and Jack are saying Edomites, EDOM.
Maybe I'm saying yeah. I don't know if I've got the wrong pronunciation or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all fucking
anyway, yeah, right. Crazy shit. So they endure this abuse from this, especially from those GAT group for quite some time, and then Mr. I don't know do you know where the Native Americans were? Did they just like show up, or like, they started walking and they happened upon them, or were they hanging out there?
So there was, he was part of a group that was there in DC that day. That he claims, what was the name of the Native People's March.
Indigenous People's March.
Indigenous People's March, thank you. And he claims that they were the only group there with who had a permit, who were allowed to be there with a permit. This was later.
None of that's true.
None of that's true. They did not have a permit.
Yeah, and you don't need a permit to be on the mall, and they weren't actually marching there. They were waiting for their bus, so you don't need a permit for what they were doing to stand in Washington D.C. and do nothing.
And the kids were there as an extracurricular, voluntarily extracurricular activity, school activity, like a field trip.
Right.
It wasn't mandatory. They weren't required by the school to be there. They were there because they had permission from their parents and they wanted to be.
Right.
And it was to participate in the March for Life, I think it was called, which is a pro-life march.
Yeah, pro-life march.
Go ahead.
And then, Injun Joe there shows up and just shoulders his way through the group of kids. And remember, these are all teenagers. Just shoulders his way through them and stops for some reason at this one particular kid and starts chanting and beating his drum, as you can see on those pictures, literally right in his fucking... And the kids... and the kid is, you can see right there, actually the one that Allison posted, he's like kind of like half smiling. He's like, he clearly doesn't know what's going on. You can see the kids in behind it are like, okay, this is weird. What's going on? Because I assume he was chanting in whatever Native American language he's got and banging his drum and his jibber jabber, whatever it is. And, and he does this, which in itself is, from outside, if you see it, that's an act of, if it was anybody else, that's an act of provocation to do that to somebody, to violate their personal space in that way, to get through a crowd of people to get to someone and do that. If the roles were reversed and it actually was the kid who had gone into a group of Native Americans and done that, they would be, correct in calling him out. But of course, that's not what happened. And so eventually, the kids actually start apparently trying to chant along with the guy, thinking, oh, okay, he's being nice or whatever. And then the guy
they thought he and the rest of the group that he was with were coming over because they were doing their school fight songs.
Right.
They thought that this was some sort of show of solidarity. According to those kids, their account of things is that they thought the Indians were approaching them initially to show solidarity with the kids because
against the Black Israelites, right?
All the negativity and the racial and slurs and the fucking profanity that was coming from the black Israelites. And so what everybody's mistaking, the kids, when they're doing that chop thing, that's part of the chant. That's not them mocking the Indian. And that's what everybody keeps claiming.
Right.
And that's wrong. So go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the story, it's so frustrating how horribly wrong the story was from the get-go, and how they were they weren't actual victims because they weren't harmed, but they were the victims of a lynch mob which formed. They weren't they weren't harmed by the Native American guy. They were victims of the lynch mob that formed by the media and social media that ripped them to shreds online and on the news everywhere. They were ripped to shreds. And of course, it turns out not only did they do nothing wrong, they reacted exactly how you would hope young teenagers who are not known for self-control usually would react when faced with something that is uncertain and an obvious provocation. They instead did nothing and just kept their cool and tried to just let it play out. And oh man, just when I read the long story that I've shared in group by Reason Magazine with the first guy that I know of that or that I was aware of that had seen the entire video and watched all of it, and then to see all the retractions all of a sudden start popping up left, right, and the other. I went on to Fox News like 6 hours later, and they had changed the headline of the story from teenagers, get in the face of mock Native American to, longer video shows there's more to the story than we first thought. It's like, yeah, there sure as fuck is. And the whole thing is just symptomatic of everything that's wrong with, I don't want to say society, but with media, especially in the last 2 to 3 years now. And it's sickening. It's absolutely sickening. And I want these people to get beat to death, all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. What astounded me was the apparent immediate, perspective that everybody held on what was happening. I remember when I first saw the image and everybody, when I first was made aware of this outrage, the supposed outrage, these kids are awful. Look at these awful kids are being racist and awful to this person. And I watched the little clip and I was like, all I see are some kids, and then some kids standing there smiling. Like I remember being confused.
Right.
And I'm not seeing, everybody talks about that smile as being smug. And I guess when you take a still, you take a still or a screenshot, right? Mm-hmm. Then I guess you could maybe see it that way. But when you take the full, from the time that Nathan Phillips, the Indian, goes up to Nicholas Salmon, the name of the kid, and walks up to him and starts beating his drum and the kid's just standing there. If you watch that full, interaction between the two of them, there's nothing smug about that. Dude, I've been a kid. I know exactly what he's doing. He has been confronted by an adult and he's nervous. And afraid, but he doesn't want to fucking look like a coward in front of his peers.
Right. Yeah. That's
I'm going to stand my ground and see and try and appear as best I can to not have a problem with what's going on and not be nervous or in any way afraid. Yeah. But ultimately, internally, he's like, dude, what's going on? Why is this happening to me? I'm nervous. And that's what his face is. And it boggled my mind that everybody views that as what an asshole, what a smug, self-absorbed prick of a kid. That smile is all the tweets. Somebody said this is the face of patriarchy,
right?
Or this is the face of white supremacy. Reza Aslan said, "Have you ever seen a more punchable face?"
Yeah, I remember that one.
What's her name? What's that Kathy Griffin fucking called the school, the Covington school, and demanded names, and went on and tweeted, "I want names, dox these kids, stain these kids publicly."
Yeah, before Cameron.
What I was going to say was, it was shocking to me hearing the same people that defended Colin Kaepernick, like, what's wrong with peaceful protests? Conservatives? Are you snowflakes? And then it's like this kid just standing there, and they think that's a provocation for violence. Like, I mentioned earlier in the show to Josh, like, I'm a big comic book fan. I follow a lot of comic book creators. I can't tell you how many of them, these are just comic book guys, and they're just like, these kids' lives need to be ruined. They all their college applications need to be rejected. And it's like, what? It's like, let's play devil's advocate and say, let's say he was trying to be a douche. Like, he got in the, the Native Americans' way or whatever. He didn't touch him. Like, where is all for violence? Like, where is that coming from?
Right.
Well, and apparently there were a slew of conservative pundits and whatnot who were quick to join the bandwagon and say, this is absolutely outrageous. And it's like, why, where was the solidarity? Where was the voice of, hang on, we have an adult and a child. Yeah. When did we stop looking at the age of two people? When have we ever looked at a fucking 50-year-old going up to, or a 30-year-old, whatever, like any adult going up to a child and starting shit, right? Mm-hmm. And said, what the fuck, kid? Like, when did I've never heard of that ever before. And all of a sudden, that's how this was viewed. And I was like, I don't understand what's going on. I don't know why.
No, I know.
What's different about this?
Joel first showed me like what had come out in the picture in the video. I'm like, even if he was quote unquote smirking and giving this guy attitude, what is all this crazy hatred and call for violence over an expression on someone's face? Are you fucking kidding me? A kid's face. What the fuck?
Mac posted a picture, which is an excerpt from George Orwell's 1984, which I'd forgotten about. Ray Barrera is the first person I saw to post this, and I took what I shared it on our meme page. It states, in any case, this is the excerpt from George Orwell's 1984. In any case, to wear an improper expression on your face, to look incredulous when a victory was announced, for example, was itself a punishable offense. There was even a word for it in Newspeak, face crime, it was called.
Crime. Yep.
And it's like, God damn, can we stop making that book a fucking reality, please?
More and more. More and more. It's becoming our world. Fucking scary.
Fucking stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that meme, Jack, that was posted where they took screenshots of everybody's fucking face there and said, in order to shame them? Like,
jeez.
Why is the story not about adult black males calling people faggots, calling people crackers, telling them go back to Europe, telling them they're they're products of incest, hurling profanity at them, at 16-year-old kids? When did we stop holding adults accountable for their actions and started holding children accountable as though they're adults?
Yeah, I look at this and, initially I would say the Black Israelites are the bad guys in the video. They're the ones that nobody's really talking about. They're the initial bad guys. But because of like the wildfire effect or whatever you want to call it, like the media, like just so blew it out of proportion that if there is ever any violence or blood, it's completely on their hands. When you have, people from CNN saying like, like Reza Aslan, this is a punchable face. You have somebody else, I don't think they're from CNN, but there's somebody with a blue check mark saying, now this is a school that deserves to be shot up or whatever, something like to that effect.
There was one of the producers on Disney's Beauty and the Beast, I think. I forget what his name is. He tweeted a picture of somebody shoving someone in a wood chipper and blood spewing out from the other end, and said something like, Covington kids, one by one into the wood chipper you go, or something like that. And it's just like, are you serious? You're a call to murder, a call to violence over what? Over a smile? What did these kids do?
Yeah, and there's another thing. I was shocked that the school themselves issued like a statement before they had all the facts too, before they talked to the kids, before they saw the video. They saw the reports, and they came out and basically threw their own kids under the bus at first, which is really fucked up.
But I understand. I kind of do. Like, for fear
they should have. No. Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. But I mean, I want to say, like, we live in a time where now more than ever, religion is viewed very negatively. It's mocked, it's scoffed at, and it's oftentimes viewed as backwards, or even almost equivalent to, you're a card-carrying member of the KKK. I mean, maybe not that bad, but it's to some, there's some sense of that when it comes to religion these days, especially here. And this is a Catholic school. I think there was an element of fear of like, oh shit, we're fucked. like everybody's going to come down on us. I'm not saying that excuses them throwing the kids under the bus. Not at all. I didn't read their statement, so I don't know what it is, but I just think it's sad. I think it's sad that I feel like that's probably why they did that, because they were afraid.
I think that's a good angle. And on the opposite end, this social justice mentality is a religion of its own. And they are, I think this, these
You're
folks,
right.
the Puritans of our day, like, they blamed this kid with original sin, like, he's white, he has the MAGA hat, he's guilty, he cannot repent, he's too far gone, he needs to be punished. It's like, what? Like, yeah, so I think these folks that, probably aren't very religious, they have this religious fervor to them.
Well, and then there's this insanity that comes with that fucking hat, and it pisses me off. It's just a goddamn hat.
Oh, hey, listen, before you get on this afternoon on the radio, that was amazing. CNN had a Catholic, I don't know if he's a bishop, I don't know if he's a, oh, what was he, babe? He was a Catholic priest. I don't know how far up, if he's just a priest or what, but he actually was on CNN saying that no one who calls themselves a Christian and a Catholic, if you call yourself a Christian and a Catholic, you can't wear a MAGA hat because that makes you a terrible person, and then you don't follow the teachings of Jesus. And that alone was enough to be mad at those kids for.
I saw tweets. Somebody posted a tweet. I don't remember who the tweet was from. I didn't recognize the name or anybody, but it was something to the effect of, if you're going to wear that hat, you know what the fuck you're doing. You deserve everything you get. That kind of slant or perspective. And somebody had responded with, okay, now do girls in short skirts. And it's like, yeah, when did we forget that? You don't get to just say, you're asking for it because you wore that.
Yeah,
like, when,
yeah.
You
I don't know who posted that originally. I shared that in group too, though.
yeah. It's like, are you kidding me right now with that kind of fucking mentality? It's just this. What I would love for this to do, but what I'm afraid it won't do, is to make everyone stop and to really go, okay, wait. This is it's lifting that rock and revealing all the muck and mire and the bugs underneath. that have been hiding. Like, let's take a moment and really look at what this is showing us and stop and maybe reevaluate how we're coming at things and how we're dealing with things and change things, because we can see it for what it is right now and nobody can deny that. And what really frustrates me, two things. Number one, you got people who jumped on the bandwagon, like these celebrities. One of the ones that really frustrated me, and I was nice about how I responded to her. I'm sure she'll probably never read it, but whatever. Jamie Lee Curtis. I like Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, I grew up kind of watching her in films. I guess she was one of the ones who jumped on the bandwagon and talked shit about these kids to begin with. And then she she tweeted a retraction of sorts where she said, essentially, I'd like to take back what I said initially. I didn't have all the information. I've seen the full footage now. I was wrong. I wish I was there. That's great and all. She said a couple other things, but the two words that were missing, and this is what I said to her. I replied to her tweet with, I think it's great that you're saying that, but there's two words that are missing, curiously, from your entire tweet. And I think it's rather telling. Where is "I'm sorry"? Like, that's it. You fucking call these kids out for something they didn't do, and you can't say "I'm sorry." And that's what I'm seeing missing from a lot of these people, is they're saying, I had it wrong. Well, that's not good enough. You tried to crucify these fucking kids. I don't know if I should say that because they're Catholics, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you tried to burn these fucking kids to the ground. You were out there screaming for blood. You're out there saying these kids don't deserve a life. Here's a curious thing. There was some kid who was mistaken. Him and his family, I think, were on vacation on the East Coast somewhere, like by a beach. And they mistook the kid for being one of the Catholic kids, if not the smiling MAGA hat kid. And they spent their entire vacation, this family, dodging and running away from mobs of people who were yelling and screaming at them because they thought this was him and his family.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it just...
Yeah, it's just, the whole thing is just, it's sickening.
And I'm still dealing with people who are doubling down, saying these are still sweet kids.
Yeah, they are, because they're using his smile, like you said, and when they were looking through the video to get a still picture, they found the smile at the right moment that would say, "Oh, this makes him look like a piece of shit," Yeah. And the whole fucking thing is just so infuriating. And yeah, a lot of the people now that they know that their narrative is completely wrong, they are still saying, well, they're still shitty kids because they're wearing MAGA hats and they're pro-life. Oh, okay. So that's okay then. You can try to ruin their lives for that? They're not allowed to have a different opinion? No, you're not, actually. Apparently not.
It's funny how I've heard people denounce these children for being part of that march, the March for Life, calling it a anti-women's march or a anti-pro-choice march. And I fight against that so hard, because that's not what the march... You're spinning it and putting a negative slant on something that isn't meant to be negative. That's not what they're saying. It's not what they're marching for. They're marching in solidarity in promotion of the lives of what they believe to be children who don't get a choice. Right? Like, you can disagree with that all you want, but they're not. It's not from a place of we hate women and we don't want them to have choices. It's from a place of we believe that these are children and children are sacred. Life is sacred, and we would like to preserve it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can debate you can debate whether or not they're right about it being life. And that's typically what, a lot of them do. A lot of pro-choicers do. Like, it's not, no, you're wrong because it's not actually life. It's a cluster of cells or whatever other fucking bullshit they say. And to me, it's you want to demonize these people, so you take what they're doing, which is a positive thing. How can anybody say that viewing life and the lives of children as being sacred and worth preserving is negative or bad? Can anybody? Oh, you're a horrible person for believing that children are sacred. You're an awful individual for believing that you should not kill kids. Like, I can't understand that mindset or that need to turn it into a negative. You can disagree without having to do that, but they don't seem to want to do that. And then they want to they want to nitpick every point because why do you hate this Pope? I keep seeing that in the comments that I hate the Pope. I hate this Pope. What about this Pope? Is this the Pope who said, "Hey, gays are cool" or whatever? Is that why you hate him?
Well, no, the current Pope, he's God.
He's progressive, isn't he?
Or a communist?
Yeah, he's a progressive
awful.
liberal. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's
progressive
he's
liberal.
fucking awful.
He's against capitalism. He's for total real socialism.
He's way too political. Yeah.
He's super fucking political. He's literally like Ocasio-Cortez. He's like any other progressive leftist that we've got in the Democratic Party right now is what he's like.
Fuck babies, be a Catholic. Jesus Christ, horse dick. No, by all means, please do. This is going to be juicy, I can tell. I read this! Go ahead. This... Oh, God. Wow. I remember I read that somebody posted that to counter all the in the Christopher Hitchens group. Somebody posted that to counter all this new information that was, shedding light on how the kid was not so bad. The kids weren't so bad. And this old man was an asshole. And like, you lose me the minute you come in. The minute she comes in with 4 black men, which I believe there were 5, were peacefully exercising their right to free speech.
Right.
Shouting faggot at a group of 16-year-olds waiting for a bus.
Yeah.
It's a little more than just exercising your right to free speech, you fucking cunt. You stupid, empty-headed, empty pillowcase of a fucking human being. You deserve to be fucking beaten by your husband. I swear to fucking God. You don't deserve to have kids. You know what? I hope you do get abortions. I hope you kill all of your children. If you have children now, get a post-abortion and let us all fucking not have to. We don't want you. We don't want your fucking bloodline. We want nothing to do with you. And that goes for the rest of you assholes too. I can't stand this shit. I fucking hate these people. And I know that makes me, I know that's a little, I know that's hypocritical to a certain degree because I'm basically in the same camp as they are, just from the other side. But they deserve it. So that's just that's how that goes. That's just you know.
Real quick, Josh, you probably didn't see this, but in the chat, but Paul has gone ahead and cut out, or he recorded me reading the poetry, and he posted it in video form in our messenger chat for the show.
Awesome. That's awesome. God, you know, it trips me out. I'm still arguing online with people about just even the video. Okay, so this guy.
Seriously?
Yeah. To me, it seems clear cut that Nathan Phillips, the Native American man in the video, is a liar. His account that he gave to the media was that he saw this group of kids who were acting menacingly, and he thought that there was he thought tensions were rising between them and these black men, and he didn't want these poor black men to be accosted, right? So he thought, I'm going to sacrifice myself since I'm some brave Indian sage, right?
Jesus.
So me and my peeps are gonna stand in the middle and chant and pray in the style of Indians in order to get between these two groups of men, the mob and these poor black people, and hopefully, weather the brunt of the ire of this mob, and or hopefully just diffuse the whole situation. And then one of them came towards me and stood in my way and stood in my face. And that's not at all what happened. And so from my perspective, you're a fucking liar. And then there's this question of whether he's even old enough to be it was posted that he was a Vietnam War vet. Then that was brought into question based on his age, and when the last helicopter even fucking went out.
Right, when the last Marines were removed from Vietnam. Yeah.
That's
but supposedly.
That's
supposedly.
What he says now. He says that the media claimed he was a Vietnam War vet. He never said that. Now, given his penchant for fucking spin jobbing and manipulating and lying that I've seen from his account of what happened, as opposed to what really happened, I'm not buying it.
He's not very believable at this point.
No, I think you're a fucking liar, and I think you did say that, and now that you're caught, you're backpedaling. That's what I think. I could be wrong. Maybe on this one count, the media did. I don't have proof, but I don't believe it. I don't think he's telling the truth. So
we certainly know the media absolutely portrayed him, because I read it everywhere, and they certainly portrayed him and called him a Vietnam War veteran.
Yes,
and not a Vietnam era veteran. They called him a war veteran. So
I love that. I love that. I love that they can get away with lying, essentially, with just a minor word change.
I wonder if they've updated their stories on that. I'm going to have to check. I'm curious now to see if they've changed their own stories.
So some black lady that in the Hitchens group was arguing, saying, both groups are wrong. I said, I don't see that at all. And she said, well, I don't see how this guy is wrong. And I'm like, well, he's a liar. He's lying about what she goes, no, he said that he walked up to the group and then they surrounded him. So he's not that kind of, is what happened. And I'm like, I want so badly to argue with you, but I also don't want to waste my time because it's clear to me that you're dumb. You're stupid. And I don't know why, but there's no hope for you. I just want you to die. Just die. Just fucking die. And I didn't end up saying that. I almost did, but I didn't, because I thought that would probably get me sucked. And I don't understand how you can be so wrapped into the narrative that you can't just let go. He fucking walked up. They didn't surround him. They made a half crescent, I guess you could say, behind the kid. He walked up to the kid. The kid did not take one fucking step towards that man that I saw. Does anybody dispute that?
I don't think so.
so
right.
You know, it just. Oh man, I forgot to fucking get that one lady who said she wanted to talk.
Oh yeah.
Argue about men.
Yeah, about the Gillette ad, right?
Because what made me think of it is like, fuck, I want somebody in here who's going to fucking dispute or debate with me. I have to start looking for those people. So he did hold it together well. That kid, those kids did nothing wrong. They didn't surround all of their chants. A lot of their chants were based on like Hawaiian war chants, which is why they do what the lady was talking about. They're jumping around like monkeys. It's that Hawaiian Momoan fucking stomp your feet and slap your fucking chest thing. Oh, you know, ooh, God,
Samoan.
God, God. Like, you know, like all that bullshit.
Yeah, Samoan, not Momoan. You're thinking Jason Momoa.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, Samoan. I didn't even catch that I did that. So yeah,
the Haka, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Then they had they start going into, some lady posted or said that that Covington has a history of racism, and there's a picture of what looks like a high school basketball event. It's a black kid from an opposing team standing on the sidelines near the fans. The fans being Covington. And the Covington fans, all of them are dressed in black. And a couple of the kids are painted head to toe black. And they're trying to say that this is those kids purposefully putting on blackface to mock and you know, use it as psychological warfare against the opposing team and the black kids on the opposing team. Like, what are you talking about? What world do you think this is 1920? Because I can't think of a time where even when I was in high school, I can imagine when I went to high school, had some kids shown up in literal blackface and then like did a mammy number on the sidelines trying to piss off the opposing team's black players. Those kids would be booted the fuck out before they got one step down. Yeah, like, there's just no way that shit would be allowed. Yeah. Even if the fucking Covington school was like, yeah, we're actually really, we're pro that. We fucking love racism. We fucking hate blacks too. And we're with you, kid. Yeah. Mammy. Like, even still, they would go, however, there's fucking people with cameras everywhere. And we can't have that reputation. We can't look that way. We can't let everybody know that we're a bunch of racist assholes. So please don't do that. Keep it to yourselves. But that's not what that was. It was a theme called Blackout, where you wear all black. You wear all black, and you're allowed to paint yourself black. The thing about blackface is, it's only the face, first of all, because it's meant to be like there's a sense of mockery to it, right? Like I don't care enough about you. This isn't meant to emulate you in a style that's an homage or a tribute. It's meant to be a mockery. I'm laughing at you, so you're not even worth my time to actually cover myself. I'm just going to do my face, and then I'm going to leave a big area where the lips are, and dresses like there's a look to the mammy face, that black face thing. That's not what you see those kids do. Like it doesn't have any of those familiar symptoms. Like it's very clear this is like a sports theme.
It is. It's a sports thing. Yeah. There's two types. There's in sports they do whiteouts and they do blackouts. Right. Whiteouts, people usually wear all white, and they try to get everybody in the stands to wear all white. In pro sports, they'll even provide white T-shirts. Like in basketball, they do it a lot. NBA, they'll provide T-shirts under the benches for the home crowd to wear. And then there's the other one is the blackout, where you're supposed to wear all black to do it. Yes. So there you go. It's a very common thing.
Right. So, and then in this article that this woman posted saying, this is proof that Covington's racist. She says, go to the end of the article, and there's a guy who talks about his kid having gone there and having been, having been a black kid, he was ridiculed and racially attacked to such a degree that he had to pull his kid out. Well, guess what? It's just this blurb. Like, first of all, the whole article is an op-ed at best. It's just opinion. There's no documentation of any sort. There's nothing. No sources are provided. There's no links to anything. There's no evidence corroborating any of the opinions in the article itself. At one point, they reference a tweet that they say was deleted. The tweet referenced the Black Israelites spewing racial slurs at the kids, and it said this was deleted because it was obviously a lie. Immediately, I'm like, well, I can't trust anything in this article now because I saw the video. I know for a fact that wasn't a lie. What are you fucking talking about? And then you get to the end of the article, and it's like, and this one guy, I can't even remember if they fucking named him, said he had to pull his kid out. Like, and that's essentially all that you get. Like, who's the guy? Who's the kid? Do we have pictures of them? Is there any proof he went to the school? What are you talking about? This is not evidence. This is some hearsay bullshit. It's not real. Stop. It's like they can't just say, we totally got this fucking one wrong. We were so sorry. We fucked up. My bad. Own it. But they can't fucking do that. You're right. Because religion's involved. They have to fucking. It's like it's like a crusade against the religious, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't. They have to be the bad guy, and we'll go to any lengths.
Yes, that's exactly right.
To make it so. Here's something. This guy purports to be the leader of some Native youth group that's a Native Youth Coalition or something like that. This Nathan Phillips, he purports to be. He belongs to other things. He presents himself as though he's not just a peaceful activist, but a peaceful person and a wise sage, shaman type of an Indian guy. And yet somebody in Utah or fucking some Ohio, some restaurant, no, where was it? Somewhere like Delaware, some weird place where you're like, what the fuck? Some restaurateur, I don't know how.
Yeah, you got it right, restaurateur.
Offered his place up as a meeting grounds for the kids and for this Nathan Phillips to sit down and have a peaceful talk and play nice and work it all out.
They don't need to talk to him at all. Sorry to interrupt.
I agree. No, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you did. However, you would think, given how much this guy presents himself as, you know, I'm the peace pipe type, you know, you would think that he'd be all about that. Like, yes, of course, let's have peace. Let's all get along. He flat out shut it down. No, now's not the time. And as I understand it, his excuse for turning it down was, I think it's wrong that that kid stole my narrative. That's how he worded it. Stole my narrative. What narrative? There shouldn't be a fucking narrative. There should be the truth and not the fucking truth. And that's it. You fucking ass. I hate you. I fucking hate you. You know what? I'm part Cherokee, and I'm glad my fucking people lost. I'm glad they lost. They paid the price for fucking being backwards, and now you're in the shit. You want to know what socialism is? You want to know what it's like when you give everything to a people? How that looks? Go on fucking native reservation. Look at the shit that they're doing. Yeah, that's a fucking great idea. Let's do that. Let's put that everywhere in the world. Let's make America one giant reservation where everybody has no opportunities. We're all fucking alcoholics and we're all going nowhere. Socialism sounds like such a good idea. Fuck you. Fuck your peace pipe. Fuck your march. Fuck your people. Fuck your lies. I hate you. All right. And that's all I have to say about that.
Hey, real quick, you're totally right on all of that. So Paul, as Larry Randall Turner, has gone ahead and posted the poetry reading, and he's created his own video to go along with it. And he posted it in HOA. So I'm going to make it an announcement.
Awesome.
This is great.
I can't wait to see it. You know what? I hope that the other members catch that and go, man, maybe I should tune in. I wish more people would fucking tune in. Like, it's a great little show.
Yeah, so, we have fun.
We do have fun. On other topics, I kind of want to touch on this now. As some of you know, I'm our resident pro conspiracy theorist for the most part. I like conspiracy theories, and a lot of them I tend to believe have merit. Joel is our resident anti-conspiracy theorist who hates them and believes that most of them are bullshit. And
correct.
In this, we find a healthy space for debate. Now,
sure. Asterisk.
Right. So, a few of you might remember a few years back that there was a conspiracy going around called Pizzagate. Now, if you haven't heard of that, this was before the 2016 election. I don't remember how long before, but I want to say it was 2015.
I'll look it up real quick.
You fucked up, dick horse. You can't even get his name right. You're out of the fucking. You're not even a good fan. Get out. You're done. You don't get to pick any teams after all that bullshit.
Actually, his whole family calls him Joe.
That's correct.
I'm the only one who calls him Joel.
Nicole, you shut your whore mouth.
And Pizzagate was during in 2016 at some point. Yeah.
Was it 2016? I thought it was 2015. I thought it was prior.
Yeah.
To the election.
It went viral. It went viral in 2016.
Okay.
And it really took off in the fall.
There was a WikiLeaks dump.
Yeah, that was fall of 2016.
And in that WikiLeaks dump were tons and tons of emails related to Hillary Clinton and people connected to her. Either her emails or emails to her from other people. Chuck Podesta, or I think it's Chuck, and his brother.
John Podesta is the one he's the one who was hacked. He's the one who worked for the Clintons during Bill's presidency and whatnot. Right. He fell for a phishing scam.
Right. So I mean, we're talking a dump of thousands of emails. So it was a while after the WikiLeaks dump before anybody had anything to say about the material, because you had to go through it. Well, people did. And some people noticed some really weird stuff about some of the emails, either from Podesta or to Podesta. And it became clear that there was some strange code being used. If I remember correctly, one of the strangest emails was it to Podesta? Somebody saying, "I have a 7-year-old pizza. Should I eat it alone or with ice cream?" And it's like, what are you talking about? You have a 7-year-old pizza. Nobody eats 7-year-old pizza. What the fuck? So it became clear, like, okay, so we're not talking about pizza. What are we talking about here? And so people started digging into Podesta because it seems very strange, this code. And they started finding that he was connected to an artist, a female artist, who would hold these weird like parties, art gatherings where she bathed in I don't remember if it was real blood or fake blood. At one point they had a cake that was like a child. It was in the shape of a child and they all ate it. She makes art that's really strange and kind of
yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, she's just this weird artist chick, and there are celebrities who buy her art and are connected to her, and there are also DC folks, a lot of Democrats who are connected to her as well. And John Podesta has, so they started digging further, and they found that he owns quite a number of art pieces from a painter who does, God, I wish I could remember who the painter is. He does this style of art that's unique, and he Podesta has them up in his homes, like multiple places, like work, I think in his office, at his home, in his vacation home as well. And they're all pictures of what essentially look like kids in various states of undress and bondage. They're and in positions that there's no reason for a kid to be in. You know what I mean? Like on all fours with their fucking legs spread, and their legs have a bar between them to keep their legs. Like, why are you painting this? What is this about? Like, there's only one clear, and why are you putting it in your goddamn living room? Like, it's just strange shit. Does this clearly is this clear evidence of him being responsible for any children missing or any criminal activity? Absolutely not. Is it really strange and there's a lot of reason to be concerned? Absolutely, I think. And I think that it bears far more investigation. And I think that his power and position and the people he's connected to, his connections, keep him from being investigated. I think he's safe. And I don't know, a lot of people scoffed at Pizzagate because they were like, how could there be a large child sex trafficking ring in our government body, like where several high echelon politicians are involved, and we don't know about it? How could that possibly happen? That just couldn't happen. Well, my argument to that point is that it did happen over in Europe, and it was exposed with that
what Henry Seville? I don't know that I'm getting the first name right. But this guy was I believe a media mogul, and it was or a celebrity of some sort, and it was revealed that he was involved in a sex trafficking ring, a child sex trafficking ring, which connected several high-level political officials over there. If it can happen there, why couldn't it happen here? Right? Like, the idea that it's just impossible seems absolutely foolish to me, to think that people in a position of power wouldn't abuse that power. Like, what? Trump's Hitler, but there's no way that anybody's fucking kids? Really? Like, the fucking Catholic Church has been getting away with it for fucking hundreds of years, apparently. But God forbid that anybody get involved in politics and get away with it for 20? Are you kidding me? That seems stupid to me, to have that thought process, to believe that that's true, that it could never happen. Anyway, my point being, that was discarded and kind of swept under the rug as though it had no merit, and it just kind of died out. So Pizzagate it's brought up very rarely anymore. But Podesta's still around, and he's still in a position of power. He's still got a lot of connections. And it was recently revealed that the Amber Alert company, the company responsible for Amber Alerts, which are the alerts you get on your phone when a child is abducted, and they have any information about the car that they were taken in, the make, model, color, year, and license plate, all of that information. That company has hired the Podesta Group as their PR firm. Does that mean anything on its own? Not really, it doesn't. But I think it's really weird. What do I make of it? I don't know. But it's like my initial thought is, hey, you know that we think it would be good public relations if you just didn't make an Amber Alert for that one. Like, you don't need to make one for that one. But we have the kid just got abducted. Like, we have the car and the license plate. Yeah. Don't. We got people on it. You don't need to post that. I don't know that it's going to go down like that. And who am I? I'm probably talking out of my ass. But I'm just saying, like, this seems really strange. And it really doesn't bode well in my head. Like, what are you doing anywhere near anything that has anything to do with child abduction when you have been implicated in that kind of shit not so long ago? Like, yesterday in the grand scheme of things. Do you think I'm making something out of nothing? Or do you think that it's weird too?
I think it's very weird. Not only that, I think the reveal of the deep fake stuff a little bit ago ties into this.
Oh yeah, that's the Buck guy. I wonder if he's here. Do we have a Buck on the? No, we don't. Okay, I'm sorry, Bram. Go ahead.
So, they revealed the whole deep fake thing, and it's mostly been used to make fake porno videos. Can you for everyone listening and for those who might tune in to the recording later on, can you just briefly go into what that is? I didn't know until just the other day. What is deep fake? Can you explain that? So it's this algorithm or program that is around that you can put just a shit ton of I think either pictures or videos of someone into this algorithm, and it will basically override the face of something in the video. So like there are ones where they have taken like Gal Gadot's face and put it in porn, and it's very convincing looking. So it looks like she's doing porn.
Yeah, there's one of apparently I meant to look it up. Apparently it's on Pornhub. There's one of Scarlett Johansson that has something like 1.5 million views. That's extremely convincing, and I really wanted to check it out just to see how convincing it was. Of course, strictly for scientific research. But
cool.